welcome back to the Ambassadors of Gaming. I am one in your army of hosts, Ambassador Michael. I'm here with,
Ambassador Adam.
and today we're going to discuss Resident Evil 3 Remake because we were going to do a video on it, and then basically once everything's settled, we're like, let's just beat the game, and let's just, I guess, do a deeper discussion about it because I thought that would be better because this one's not like Resident Evil 2 Remake where like everybody's like, yeah, it's amazing. Like we all as a community are like, yeah, it's amazing. There's a lot of discussion
Like
regarding
this
it.
this game came out, and as a community we are all kind of like, oh,
Yeah. Oh, this is not Resident Evil 2 Remake. Okay. Like you kind of get that vibe from the beginning of it too. Like because the very beginning is super action oriented. It's like, all
like
right,
we
here's
knew it.
yeah, go
We
ahead.
knew it was going to be different. They told us.
Well,
They
yeah,
told us.
and I expected it to be because as you've always told me, like as Resident Evil went on, it always got more action oriented. So
Yeah,
like
Resident Evil 3 was always more action oriented than 2. It had like quick time events and stuff like that. That
right,
explosive barrels, more zombies.
and you kind of see
As
that.
does this one.
Right, this one has. I think this one has more explosive barrels, or it feels like it. And at least they feel better placed. I guess if that's one of the like more positive things, I
Were there even explosive barrels in 2?
yeah yeah there were a few, but not that many that I can recall. I feel like there was one or two. I could have been wrong about that, but I haven't played it in a while. But this one, I think like the placement of items is really good, and like the placement of these like little trap things that they have for like zombies and the nemesis are pretty good, because they're set up in a way that like really makes
Oh yeah,
sense. Like
those electric
yeah,
boxes.
the little electric boxes or whatever they're called.
The things that I never used while playing the game.
Yeah, you don't really use them until you try to like until you're trying to speed run or you're trying to like go back and do the S rank stuff where you're trying to really like
Or once you realize it can slow the nemesis down.
yeah, because it doesn't really do a good job of explaining that to you until like the first boss fight with him. And that's like way after the first time you see them. Like the footage that's playing now, they just saw it like half a second ago. It's in that big like shopping area when you first start up. That's the first like big open area of the game. But there's not really that many big open areas. There's only really two, right? There's the shopping area and the hospital, right? And then not really the labs.
Yeah, yeah. There's the raccoons. There's Raccoon City, and then the hospitals. I wouldn't really say the hospitals are open though, but the lab's very linear.
Yeah, the lab in this one is a lot linear than in 2, where 2 had a lot more
Like
backtracking in it in the labs.
yes, the lab in 2 was also bigger.
Yeah, it definitely was.
This lab is like two hallways and a couple boss fight arenas.
Yeah, pretty much. There's the well, I guess we could just talk about because that's one of the big things about this game when we were discussing it. Because the boss fights in this game aren't great. I don't think. Like the first time you play it, they're pretty interesting, but that's about as far as I go with it.
They're fun, but they're also a joke. It's like you're
Yeah,
playing Ring Around the Rosie with a 4-year-old kid, and every boss fight is the same thing with him, no matter what
yeah,
form he's in, except for his final form. Even his final form is kind of like that. No, every boss fight you're just running in circles.
yeah. Even if it's unintentional in that last boss fight, yeah, obviously we're doing the review, so it's a spoiler. So like, if you're watching this and you haven't played the game yet, just go away for now. Uh, this is early enough in the video where you should really know like this is gonna be spoilery. That last boss fight has like these orbs or what they're like tumor growths or something that you're popping on him or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, the tumors.
But you still end up running in a circle because you have to push in these like power generator
It's more
things.
like a U, but
Yeah,
yeah.
where you're like, and it's really weird because I think the problem with this game versus 2 is that the boss fight completely those fights completely change the higher difficulty you go. Like he actually has a different move set in hardcore and insane. Like they changed the AI in those modes. Like all right, so like he has that one attack right where he like slams down with his hands, right?
Yeah.
Well, in like normal mode, he only does it like 3 times. I think he'll like do one with his one hand and then one with the other hand and then back to the first hand. In hardcore mode, he will use the same hand and hit you like 5 times, 6 times
My
sometimes.
my favorite move of the final boss is when he's still active and you try to push in a generator, and his fist just kind of slowly comes like hovering towards you
Yeah.
and kind of like shakes a little, like shoo, and then just punches you.
See, like again in hardcore, they changed that. So like, if you try to push the things in before you hit those bulbs or whatever and knock him down, he just grabs you and just crushes you and kills you. Like the game's just like, no, you can't cheat. You can't overdo it. Uh, and so like, I think that's one of the main things with this game that people will miss out on. Like, if you're not into this game enough to play it repetitively, you will definitely feel shortchanged, which is like the sentiments a lot of people are getting out of it. Of like, this game is too small and it's too short. And like, I didn't really feel like I had a full experience with it until I beat it on everything and unlocked everything. And
See, I hear these complaints about it being short, and I feel everyone on that because it is a short game.
right,
But even the original was a short game, so I really don't know what people were expecting. But
r-
I will be honest, I was expecting them to at least add a little bit to the game to make it just a slightly girthier. You know,
right,
I figured they'd at least try to make it as long as two.
which they didn't end up doing because I think, what did you end up clocking it at when you finally beat it? Like 6 or 7 hours?
Yeah, it was about 7 hours. The first time I played two, it took me like 9 hours because I'm that guy that every time I pick up an item, I run back to the item box.
Right. Yeah, you do a lot of
So, I,
backtracking.
what first time I played two was like 9.5 hours,
Right.
and then first time with this was just 7.
Which so like, it it's one of those weird things where yeah, it's like shorter, but it also feels that way, and I think it's because of the way that it progresses, like the
Yes,
design of the levels, because
the
like RE2
the
redesign
pacing for this,
is really weird.
like if you've played Resident Evil 2, you know the pacing is like intense, intense, uh, and then just trying to scare you, unease, calmness,
Sure.
and then back to intense. And
Yeah.
you had these sections where you're trying to solve puzzles. There's enemies and stuff you're fighting, but it's calming. It's a breather. It's a break. And Resident Evil 3 gives you no breaks.
They're very short breaks. They're like literally like a
It's
minute or two.
it's just boom, 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 boom. But like even the original game still had those breaks to build up suspense and stuff, and this game's just in your face,
Yeah. I think it. I guess. Correct
which
me if I'm
isn't
wrong.
necessarily a bad thing.
No, but it what it tries to do is it tries to do that kind of thing that like Doom Eternal does, where it's like, okay, like the fast-paced sections are really fast-paced, they're really intense. But then even then, Doom still has those little bit of moments where it's like, okay, like now we're gonna do some platforming or something like that. Whereas with this, it seems like what they end up doing is, okay, like here's the big set piece boss fight, and now whatever. After that boss fight, you go to the sewers, don't you? Or is the sewers before that?
The
The sewers is
sewers is after that.
That's what I thought. So it's like that, and then you
Yeah,
immediately go into the sewers, and then you come out of the
you come out
sewers,
of the sewers,
and I think you
and
do another boss fight, or you're Carlos for a
no,
bit. You're Carlos,
no,
and then you do a
no.
boss fight.
You come out of the sewers, and it's right back to him.
Yeah,
And right when it gets right back to him, you cut over to Carlos,
right.
and that's your break right there. Is playing with Carlos, which I wouldn't necessarily say is a break. I mean, the first time you play as Carlos is a break. Second time you play as Carlos is honestly just annoying.
Yeah, I. Here's the thing. I don't know. I guess I feel differently a little bit about it because I actually thought that the Carlos sections were better than the Jill sections a lot of the time. But that's just, I guess, my opinion on it. Like, I really like the hospital. I thought the
I don't
hospital was
like
really cool.
dealing. I don't like dealing with the hunters as Carlos
Yeah,
because it's just it's so much easier for Jill to take them out.
sure.
And with Carlos, if you don't have a flash grenade or an actual grenade, if you're just standing there with your assault rifle, you're not gonna take it out. It's gonna kill you.
Yeah, you're gonna have a harder time. Plus, he doesn't have a dodge. He has that punch attack. So if you get
Yeah,
really good
yeah.
at the like
If you
punch or
get really good
dodge,
with the punch, you'll be fine probably.
yeah,
But like that reload will kill you when you're fighting the hunters. You cannot
yeah,
afford to get to that reload. You need to stun them when you get to the reload, or or you'll die.
Yeah, the game,
Sometimes
the
if you're
hunters are
lucky,
weird.
they'll just attack you, but they have an instant kill attack.
Right, they have that instant slash or whatever where they cut your throat, and it's
Yeah.
like it's super annoying. It really only happened to me like once or twice throughout the all of my playthroughs of it, but it's still annoying nonetheless. Um, I like the hunter designs in this game. I don't like
Yes.
them. They're like a weird mix where they're not exactly a copy of the ones from the original game, right? Like
They
from
have like
Resident Evil One.
mandibles now, but
Yeah,
like they still look like a reptile.
yeah.
They
They have
don't
these weird
look
like
like a
predator
bug in
mouths.
any way, shape, or form, but they have like reptile mandibles.
Right, and that's like their weak point, which is like super weird to me. Because it's super small, and you really don't know that until you fight them. That's their weak point.
I mean, I disagree with you there because I kind of figured that as their weak point. Because like I'm looking at it and their skin looks pretty thick, and
Yeah,
then I see their red gooey mouth, and I'm like, that doesn't look thick.
fair enough. I don't know. I had the old zombie logic of just shoot it in the head. Like that was my first thought. I was like,
Oh, oh. You see, I'm a Resident Evil veterinarian, or not veteran.
I am a veterinarian.
Oh my god.
He's a veteran.
I'm a Resident Evil veterinarian, guys. I take care of the monsters when they get
Yeah,
sick, okay? And
Jesus.
I've taken care of enough hunters. Anyways, jokes aside, I've played
Right.
enough Resident Evil to know that when it comes to things that aren't zombies, shooting them in the head isn't enough.
Yeah, it almost never is. So even with I can't deter. I haven't. Even in my playthroughs with Nemesis, I still haven't determined if like in his second form and if his head is a weak point. I don't think it is. Like I don't think it does any more damage than if you just shoot him in the body. Honestly.
He has this glowing thing on his chest. I think that's his weak point.
Yeah, it's the. I think it's supposed to be like the
His
parasite
heart
not popping
or
through.
something.
Cause
I don't
like
know. It like glows.
yeah, but it comes out when
It's
you like
weird.
when he gets downed or whatever, and it like strangles around and
Oh
looks like
yeah.
a centipede or something. Um,
Um.
I really like the Nemesis second stage the most. I think. Like I like his first. I know you and I discussed the first form, and the first form is kind of like, you wished he had had whatever like his outfit, right? You were saying.
No. I the leather jacket would have been nice, but like I have no beef with his outfit.
Oh, okay.
My beef is with the original Nemesis had these like clearly seen staples going across his head,
Yeah,
and like it looks like this Nemesis is like stitched together a little or stapled together, but like it's kind of healed over.
yeah. It looks like it's
Whereas
been a while.
the new Nemesis looked like someone literally just stapled his face together.
Oh,
The old Nemesis. And like I missed that look. I prefer the face on the old Nemesis preferred to the face on the new one.
fair enough. I liked
But
his.
I will say the new one's more disgusting looking.
Yeah, I like his teeth a lot. I think his teeth in this one do a lot. I thought it was because I didn't come to this comparison with the stage two. You won't see it in the footage here because all the footage Dale has is very early because he tries to avoid spoilers. But the stage two Nemesis's head looks a lot like the alien from Aliens, like the
That is done on
xenomorph.
purpose.
I figured it was
Yeah.
because it looks
Resident
just
Evil
like it.
likes to do nods towards Alien.
I figured. Yeah, it looks just like a xenomorph. I mean, the
Yeah.
teeth are different, but like the, the eyeless, like giant forehead,
Even
definitely.
the even the this is the deep spoiler right here.
Sure.
Um I can't remember what's the black guy's name?
Terrell, I think is his name.
Tyrell?
Terrell, yeah, I think.
Uh, when he kills Tyrell, the way he kills Tyrell even imitates the way he kills one of the people in the Alien movie. The way the alien kills the person is the
Interesting.
same way.
I forgot how Tyrell gets killed, and I haven't seen the like. I haven't seen Alien in a really long time or any of those movies in a while, but it definitely gave me that vibe. Like even the second form's like movements kind of feel that way. Like it runs around a lot like an animal or something, and they kind of make that
I
comparison in the game.
I do have one like applause for the Nemesis
Sure.
I'd like to mention and two complaints I'd like to mention. My applause for the Nemesis is the forms in this game are wonderful. They're
Yeah.
tremendous. They are way better than the original game. Like each form looks different.
It's
And in
distinct.
the original game, the first form of the Nemesis, it's the Nemesis. And then the second form of the Nemesis was like, dude just took his shirt off. Like, that's not a form change. He just took his shirt off.
Yeah,
Like, he kind of gets this tumor on his shoulder, but like, other than that, like,
he looks basically the
you
same.
took your shirt off.
Fair enough.
And
Yeah,
then his third form was just like this blobbish thing.
yeah, and he doesn't really have. He kind of has it. I forget,
So
his third form reminds me of like the stuff from Resident Evil 6 a lot, like where it's this big
yeah,
monstrous thing.
those shell things.
Yeah, he has this weird like
Yes,
beetle-like shell.
yes. That's exactly what his third form reminds me of. I was gonna get around to that.
It's
But
some
like
like
his
Resident
second
Evil
form
6 stuff.
also reminds me of a fish, like because it's got fins on it. Like they look like fish fins.
Yeah, he has these like spikes that like his bones are like protruding from his
Like,
body.
but like the skin's like hanging from them like fins.
Yeah,
Like it's the texture of a fin. Like I think it's because he fell in the water. Like I think he
probably.
like adapted to the situation.
I mean, that sounds like something that would happen, but they don't really explain it in too much detail or depth. That the
Not at
form
all.
changes.
Basically, the only guy that knows what's going on with the Nemesis sees him in his second form, goes, "Oh, wow,
That's
neat."
interesting. Yeah, like yeah,
And
I
then he goes into his third form. The guy's like, "Oh my god, have you ever seen something so beautiful?"
pretty much. It's
Like talk about the face only a mother could love.
pretty much. I think it's super hideous, but it looks cool. And I like when I fought it, I did feel like, oh, this is really cool. But like I know originally the whatever you were telling me that you use a variation of that gun or whatever it is. It's like this mounted laser gun or something like electric laser.
A rail gun,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what it is. It's a rail
In,
gun. Yeah.
in in the original game is just like in place. It's like you didn't pick it up or anything. You just ran behind it and pushed a
Just
button.
yeah, and just fired it. And whereas this one, you do like pick it up and fire
Yeah,
it. It's not much different, honestly.
this
It's
game's got the best finishing line, and I will not say it here. If you want to hear it, go beat the game.
yeah, that was definitely like all right. So yeah, when she kills the nemesis, obviously like that's they actually do a good job of kind of making it feel important instead of it just being like a throwaway thing.
That
Where
was a satisfying kill.
yeah,
It's really satisfying.
yeah, because at that point you really are like sick of his shit, and you're like, fuck, I am so
Yes,
tired of you.
yes,
Fucking
you,
die already.
yes, yes.
Like
Um,
even with Mr. X, like you kind of get that feeling when you're playing Leon's game, but you don't so much with Claire's. So, but this
let,
one
let,
really hammers it home, I think.
let me get around to my second two
Yeah, sure.
complaints. But I guess the one is more of a grief than a complaint. Um, but my second complaint is in the movie scenes, he is so intimidating and scary, and when he's chasing you through the streets, actually when he's chasing you at all,
Yeah,
it's scary and intimidating and oh my god. But then every single boss fight, like he just completely loses that intimidation. Like
yeah. His moveset is pretty lame in most of the fights. I think the
like
second fight is probably the best of them, because technically you fight him 4 times.
the only fight, the only boss fight with the Nemesis that really intimidated me and scared me was his final form. And that's just because the way he attacks, like he has a lot of swiping
Yeah,
attacks
he
and
has
shit,
these
like you just
arena
cannot
attacks.
dodge.
You
Like it's
you
like
can, but it's very
you got to get
difficult.
really good at dodging them. Like
Yeah, he has this
you
sweeping
need to know
attack.
specifically how to.
Yeah, basically, like he has these big arms, and he covers like
The whole
at
battlefield
least
with them.
50% of the battlefield, like depending on whatever. And like
If
the
he
only way
got
to
both
dodge
arms
it,
down, it's the whole battlefield.
yeah, if you try to dodge it, you have the only way you can dodge it is by being at his fingertips, and you have to like dodge through his hand basically. Um, and so hold on, I'm sorry, I gotta replay this fucking footage. I thought I had it looped, but I don't apparently. So, but with
Oops.
with the boss fights, I like the second one probably the best. The third fight is kind of a repeat of the second fight, which is a pretty major complaint I have. The only major difference is in the first fight you're using mines, and in the second fight you're like shooting these button things on these big
Yeah.
containers. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's basically the exact same boss fight, and then they just added zombies in with the third round. I think one of the things that it all right. So like we've kind of hit like middle of the road. We're saying good things about it. So I guess I'll go specifically into the things I like first. And I really like what they did with Hardcore, Nightmare, and Inferno. Like the first three difficulties of the game definitely feel like okay, like this is like you play the game and you get used to its level design and its layout and all that. And once you're used to that, then you do Nightmare, where like the AI is more aggressive. They have different attacks. The animations are pretty different, and then obviously they do like way more damage. And one of the interesting things they did is they change where items are. So like those boxes where you get the jewels are in three different places. Like they're not in the same three places they were before. So like it makes if you want to do that, it was really hard for me to do my first run on Nightmare not knowing where those boxes were and like not killing time. You know what I mean? Because I was like I have no idea where the fuck these things are. And one of them is in the nest or whatever that nest with the drain demos.
Yeah.
Like yeah, that sucked. It was really hard to get to that one because it's like in that it's in that like caged off area, so it's kind of hidden. If you don't like if you've at the point that you've played Nightmare, you've at least played the game one time, so you know okay, I'm just gonna go from here, go through this door, and climb up the ladder. So it's intentionally placed there, so if you don't look, you'll easily miss it. You know what I mean? And so like that I think they did that really well where like when you go back to play it you're like oh this is kind of a different experience because I have to think about it in a different way. And they're also like kind of dicks about it because
Oh yeah.
after you first beat the game you get the shop, and the shop has all these really cool unlockable stuff that you can get. I think I preferred the way stuff unlocked in Resident Evil 2 personally with like your S ranks and stuff, whereas
I
it's
mean, I'm
not.
okay with the shop, but the infinite weapons feel like should have still been the S rank stuff.
Well, basically, to get the infinite rocket launcher, you have to complete so many of the challenges that it's like you basically have to S rank most of the game to get it. On it was like the last thing I got because you need like 62,000 points or something, and beating the game on S rank on Nightmare only gives you like 8,000 or something. So it doesn't even give you that much. And the worst part is like S ranking Inferno mode gives you 0 points.
What?
S ranking the hardest mode gives you 0 points. And I was like, damn,
Why?
that's just hard. That's just mean. Like,
Why?
I don't know. That's what I said. I was like,
They're
why?
trying to tell you not to play that mode.
Well, like you're supposed to beat. If you beat Inferno mode, you get like 8,000 points or something. But if you S rank it, the only reason to S rank it is really to like get the platinum, which I ended up doing for this game. But I only ended up platinuming it because I want to play Resident Evil 2 so bad, and I don't want to buy it again. And I'm just desperate to like play Resident Evil right now. And so like my the platinum with me fucking around with barely using a guide. I didn't use a guide until my last playthrough to get like the dolls and like all the files. I platinum the game in 42 hours, which is like not a lot of time honestly. Like to do everything. I've done everything. So, you know,
Yeah.
one of the things I wish the game would have explained also is with Nemesis, he has upgrades that you don't know about.
Yes, he does. I didn't know about that until I watched a video on YouTube. Actually, earlier this morning.
I didn't know about it until I did my playthrough, and I was like, I was trying to S rank and I was trying to get past him, and one. All right, so real quick, I think the thing that you were talking about with Nemesis and like him chasing you, we didn't elaborate too much on. All right, so like Nemesis is not like Mr. X. Mr. X constantly walks at one pace. So like if you get past
Yeah.
him, you can distance yourself from him. Nemesis doesn't do that. He will run at you full fucking blast like a train. You can hear his ass coming at you, and you
Yep.
know he's about to punch you in the
Yep.
back of the head. Like
It sounds like stampeding rhinos. He's
it's
just a-
fucking horrifying. And
and it's like each step it gets faster.
yeah, he's super fast, and that
And if
is
that
one of the best parts of it.
and sometimes he'll just jump and you'll just see him go sailing over your head and land in front of you, like
Yeah.
directly in your path, in your way.
They
You're like, fuck.
they definitely made him feel more superhuman than Mr. X in terms of like, okay, like this thing is designed to fuck you up. Like, and I like that about him, and I like that about this first section, but you lose that in the rest of the game. Like, once he transforms, he never chases you again. You don't,
Yeah.
like,
he chases you one more time in his second form through one hallway.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what it was. Isn't that when you crawl though, or something? Or are you talking about something
It
else?
might be. It might be.
Yeah, it's like a quick time event where you're just holding the stick forward or something.
Yeah.
And that's so like that and the fire section. So I guess if I had to complain about Nemesis, my two major complaints were in Resident Evil 2, the Tyrant had more natural like engagements with you and things that he just did that he was programmed to do to scare you more than Nemesis did. Where like I think some of the cutscenes actually drew away from things that made him scary. Like that, I specifically think of this one where he comes up on the third floor. Like you're running from him, right? And you ran in this building. You're running up like 4 or 5 flights of
Yeah.
stairs, and he just says "fuck that," and he just grapples right up to you. Like that would have been way scarier if I was just running, right? No cutscene, and he just show. I just see him out of the corner of my eye climb up behind me, and I hear him be like "STAAARRRS." I would have been like, "Oh shit, I have to get the fuck out of here," and like just start running, you know? But they made it a
That
cutscene, and so I didn't feel like that intimidated by it.
on that note, on what you just said there, that's my grimace
Yeah, his
on the Nemesis. That's my second complaint
his
right
lack
there.
of like he's
In the
not he
original
doesn't even make
game,
noises really.
he said stars
Right.
all the time.
He says it like twice in this
All
game.
the time. In this game, he literally only says it once at the very beginning of the game, and then he's just silent for the rest of the game. Apparently, if you down him, he says it.
Yeah. So one of the big things is the game wants you to down him, but we're all just like, yeah, no, fuck that. I'm just gonna run and dodge him,
Yeah.
like because
Um,
you don't know how much ammo he's gonna take, and honestly, like I don't know either because when I finally
I didn't
did
even know
start.
you could down him.
Yeah, I didn't either until like way later. I just assumed you could. I was just like, all right, this guy's fucking annoying. Hopefully, like I got infinite ammo, so whatever. I'll just shoot the shit out of him. Hopefully, he'll go down. And then he does. But yeah, they don't really. The I there's certain things where there's mechanics of games I would rather you show me and things you can't like. I like being able to be like, oh, that's a cool thing. I can do that. But like in Resident Evil, I'm not gonna waste my limited resources of ammo to try to shoot down the nemesis if I don't know if it's gonna work. I'll just run and try to dodge him and save my ammo for later.
Yeah.
So like had I known that, it probably would have helped a lot because like the dodge in this game's not awful. The the item that makes like the time for perfect dodge definitely makes it way more accessible and definitely like way more interesting and easier to use. But it,
I don't know. I just kind of accidentally got perfect dodge almost every time I dodged.
yeah,
I just sucked at dodging though.
fair enough. Cause the dodge, my thing with the dodge is that with the book, it almost feels like I have to dodge a little bit earlier than I originally anticipate to. Because Jill still like, even though you have that dodge, you have that like slow, intentional, clunky moveness that
Yeah.
like the game has.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that quick Dark Souls like roll. It has this really
I
slow.
always feel like right when the zombie's about to grab me, I need to hit the dodge button. But it's like no, right when it starts its lunge, you need to hit
Yeah,
the dodge button.
the timing is a bit funky. It's not horrible, but it takes a bit of time to get used to. And honestly, if you're only planning to play the game once, like you're not gonna use it as much, especially if you played two, because you're gonna be like, oh, I'm used to just dodging stuff like by walking or running around it or whatever. And this game
These
can't really
zombies
do
do
that.
lunge a little faster though.
They do. They definitely lunge faster, and the way the like area in which they activate definitely feels a lot larger. Where they're like, okay, I'm going to turn towards you now, and now I'm going to lunge at you. Versus like they felt smaller in Resident Evil 2. So, I think what's the only thing we really haven't touched on? Do you think level design really? Because like we
I
talked
mean,
about it, but we didn't
we
really get into it.
kind of, but we didn't dive into it. Just
Sure.
there's there's not a lot of backtracking in this game. There's
No.
two times you backtrack in this game, and you can skip backtracking both times. Backtracking in Resident Evil 3 is purely just to get extra supplies and weapon upgrades.
Yeah.
Never do you have to backtrack in this game. If you really wanted to, you could just run straight to the end. You just run.
I
Just
think the
go.
only time in your first playthrough that you really have to backtrack is to get the shotgun before you go fight the drain demos. Because like you can do it with a pistol, but it's really
Yeah.
hard.
It's easier with a shotgun.
Yeah, a
Especially
lot
because
easier.
it's got a wider spread, so you don't really have to aim that well.
Right.
and they die in one hit from the shotgun.
The weird
This
thing is,
review just became a tip video.
yeah, pretty much. Well, like I think it's important to discuss those types of mechanics though for people that have or
Oh
haven't
yes.
played it, because I think this one is important that we do it this way because there's still so many people that are on the fence that were like originally like, oh, I'll wait till 2 weeks or whatever when I get paid and I'll buy it, and now they're like they've heard
Oh
all this
yeah.
negative stuff about it.
Like, don't rush to get it,
Yeah,
but don't think it's like garbage because it's good, it's fun, it's pretty. It's just we were expecting so much from it. We were expecting another Resident Evil 2 remake, and it isn't.
it's not.
It's
Yeah,
not a Resident Evil 2 remake. It's Resident Evil 3 remake, and
yeah. I
it's a
think
short game. If you don't want to spend $60 for a short game and an online game thrown together, then wait for the price to come down a little bit and get this game. But I do recommend you actually play this game.
yeah,
I
I would
also
too.
recommend you play the original as well, though.
Yeah, you said the same thing once I beat it, and I kind of talked about like some of my gripes with it and some of the things I liked about it. You said, yeah,
Both games are different enough.
yeah, they're different enough where you can justify playing both of them.
Actually, the original has more replay value to it than this one, if you ask me.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the thing about this game is that typically when you play Resident Evil, from my understanding and what I've played, is that it's supposed to be more fun every time you replay it because you
Oh
get
yeah.
more stuff or whatever, and you're trying to speed
Well,
run. This game doesn't
the
really have that.
original The original Resident Evil 3 had those quick time events, like I told you, where you had to make a quick time decision.
Sure,
Like, do you want to try blowing the Nemesis up with a gas tank, or do you want to just jump out the window? And that would change the story of the game and how events would happen and like what kind of ending you would get and stuff. And so you could replay the game and go back through it and make different choices and decisions and see what
interesting.
happened and where that got you.
Yeah, because that's not present here at all. There's no
No,
choice-based mechanics here at all.
not at all.
Um, which kind of sucks because that sounds like it could have been really interesting. With regards to replayability, I pretty much peaked, I would say, on like my third playthrough. That was pretty much where I enjoyed it the most. Because my first playthrough, I was like, okay, this is kind of good, but the only thing that really, when I played it, there was only one point where I was really unsettled, and that's in that power plant with the drain demos. That was the only point in the game where I was genuinely like, I don't know where shit's gonna come from. I don't know where it's gonna be because it could be on the floor, it could be on the ceiling, it could be on the walls. There's
Yeah.
these really tight corridors,
I want to say that's the scariest point of the game right there.
and the thing that sucks is that's like the first like 45 minutes. Like that's like
Yes.
right at the beginning of the game.
And
Um,
the only moment that comes close to topping that with the amount of scariness is when you first get into the sewers.
right,
The first Hunter Gamma you come across
right.
is a pretty scary experience because you don't have the right weaponry to kill it.
Yeah, and then if you, it depends on how you do it because there's this branching path, and if you make the right decision and you go the right way, you'll get the grenade launcher, and the rest of it's really easy. But if you fuck up
Yes.
and you go the wrong way, you're not screwed, but it's gonna be way harder because those things eat
Yes.
bullets. But
Yes, they literally eat bullets. Like their skin's
yeah,
bulletproof. You have to shoot them when their mouth is open. They literally eat bullets.
yeah, like you can even so I had the unlimited pistol pretty early on. That was like the first thing I bought was the unlimited pistol. And you can kill them with the pistol, but it really takes forever. Like it's really just not a feasible way to do it. You really want to use the grenade launcher or a shotgun on them. And so I liked their design as well. I thought they were really cool and interesting enemies, but they're intentionally weak to the grenade launcher because that's part of like whatever the story of them. But
They remind me of Tremors.
I'm not familiar with them.
It's a sci-fi movie. Look it up sometime.
Oh, okay. I've heard of the movie Tremors, but I haven't seen it or whatever, or heard of whatever these creatures. I remember recalling it because I listen to a lot of like sci-fi people that like sci-fi and horror and stuff like that, podcast wise. But um, I like them, but they definitely don't feel as intimidating once you find out. Because like even on the hardest difficulty, they take one grenade launcher shot. Like
Except for the one in the lab. For some reason, that one takes two.
the one in the lab. Oh yeah, the one in the lab when you're getting the fuse. Yeah,
My sister said because that one's bigger, and I said, "Is it?"
it feels bigger, probably because it, it's like a tighter, it's like a weirder environment. It could be bigger. It definitely feels that way.
I mean, if it is bigger, that explains why it takes two shots instead of one. Because I mean, we did learn that like the older they get and the more they eat, the bigger
The
they
bigger
get.
they get, yeah.
Like it tells you in the notes because it talks about them being tiny little things at first, and you're like,
Right.
"What do you mean tiny?"
Right. With so again, real quick to draw comparisons with the difficulty in that section in the labs where you're getting these fuses, in normal mode when those drop, there's like whatever 6 zombies in the first one, or 5 zombies, something like that. There's a pretty good amount of zombies in that first one that opens up, and then you grab the fuse and you're running back. And when you run back, the door drops, and another one of those hunter gammas comes out, and you're like, oh shit, I wasn't ready for that. Like that was one of
Yeah.
the few. That is one of the few moments where you're like, whoa, I was not prepared for this, and it like catches you off guard. But
Well, I kind of knew it was there because when I climbed down, you can hear it in the
oh,
container.
you can.
And I walked up to the container. I was trying to open the container. I'm like, okay, I guess it's not gonna open. So I went to get the fuse, and when I went over there, that other one fell open, and the zombies came out. And so I ran away from. I didn't even have the fuse yet. I started running away from the zombies,
Oh,
and the
you
other
messed
thing
up.
opened up, and that thing came out, and so now I'm this thing and like 6 zombies, and I'm like,
Yeah, that was a bad move. I think it's designed that way intentionally so that you're like, oh fuck this, let me step back, and then you do, and that thing fucks you up. Um,
like that's one of my complaints about the level design of this game. Actually,
which is what? How would you summarize? Or,
the enemies are very segmented.
yeah,
Like you get like two zombie dogs at the beginning of the game,
sure.
and there's of course zombies throughout the game. But the hunters are only in the hospital.
There's
The drain
one in the
demos
lab.
are only in the hive.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
hunter gammas are only in the sewer. All the enemies are very segmented.
To a specific environment.
Yes, like
Yeah,
liquors are only in the police station.
yeah. I don't think liquor shows up anywhere else, even in like hard in Nightmare or Inferno. So one of the things I
So
wanted to compare real quick just before we move past this, is that when that drops in Nightmare mode and that Hunter Gamma comes out, fucking 4 dogs also come out of that thing. So like it drops and it's like here's 4 dogs and a Hunter Gamma, and you're just like, I guess grenade launcher it is.
yeah,
Like
but like it's all very segmented, and then when you get to the lab, the room we're talking about in the lab, they literally throw like one of every enemy in the game at you. At least one of every enemy in the game they throw at you in that small part.
yeah, they throw a hunter in there. They throw a pale head. That's what they end up calling whatever those things are.
No, there's no pale head in that section.
Yeah, the pale head's right before you go back and you unlock the door to go
Oh
back to the
yeah, it
save
is.
room. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
one in
there's
there.
there's zombies, the Nemesis zombies. There's a pale head.
Yep.
There's, I say one zombie dog.
I
I
swear to God,
literally
I kept seeing 2. There might be one, but I swear to God, I kept seeing 2. Cause I
well
would
there's
I would kill one
there's
of them and then I would get attacked.
and then there's one hunter, and then there's one hunter gamma.
Yep.
Like the only enemy you don't run into in there is
The liquor.
liquors or drain demos.
Yeah. And the drain demons never show up back in the game again, which kind of sucks, especially because like they could have showed up in the sewers, but they just don't. Uh,
They're mutated fleas.
yeah, they don't really show up anywhere else in the game, which sucks because they're definitely like they're probably the weakest enemy, but they're definitely the scariest because they also have this mechanic where they like instead of hurting you and doing damage, they put parasites into you, and you actually have to eat a
Oh
green
yeah.
herb, and if you don't, you're fucked basically.
And like not only that, but it like those creatures straight up prove that them taking giant spiders out of the game was a mistake, cuz giant crawling insects running all over the walls, wings is scary,
Yeah,
especially when they're fat.
it's super scary. Yeah, dude. Like, if they had put the big fuzzy spider things in there, I would have freaked. Like,
Yeah.
they're fucking terrifying.
Actually, a lot of people probably just wouldn't play the game. Okay, maybe I understand why they aren't.
Yeah, I think their
They're
concern
like,
now
no,
with
that would
spiders
be
is
too scary.
arachnophobia. Like, it's kind of blown up in a way where it's like a lot of people now are like, yeah, no, I just won't play shit with spiders. Like, every time I went into that part, I really hate bugs, so like I have a hard time going in there every time. And I'm like, okay, let's
I,
just
I
quickly run and kill everything and get out.
I never understood that. I'm like, but wait, if you're afraid of spiders, wouldn't you love to just kill spiders all the time?
It's not so much the you don't want them to be near you. You don't want to see their big gross faces like right up all on in front of your TV. Like that, at least for me, that's what it is. I don't like the appearance of bugs. So like when I see like these things like bleh, making out with you like all high def like right in my face, I'm like, oh, that's fucking disgusting.
See, I love the appearance of bugs. They look like a organic robot,
Yeah, kind of.
all segmented and shit.
Yeah, they definitely like appear that way. But there's so where were you? What was the last thing you were going with the labs before I cut you off with the enemies? Do you
Oh,
recall?
I was just talking about how like the enemies were very segmented,
Yeah.
but that the lab at the end there just throws one type at you in that one room of each.
Yeah, and then even after that, basically the rest of the game has some paleheads, some of the nemesis zombies, and then some what?
Three hunters in one
Yeah,
room.
there's that three hunters, and that section is actually really cool. I like that part. Cause you don't
I
really
I
expect
died
it.
twice on that part.
Cause you don't really expect it the first time you go in there, and then you're like,
Yeah, you
oh,
just straight run through there, and like one of them jumps out, and you're like, whatever, I'm just gonna keep running so I can go to the store. And then before you know it, there's like three of them coming at you, and you're like,
the thing is, that's one of the few sections of the game where they lock you in that room, and they're like, no, you're not gonna leave until these things are dead. Like,
yep,
so, which sucks because if you're like I said, if you're not paying attention, right before that section, there's acid rounds like in a box that you could easily miss. So if you don't grab
yep.
those and you don't have any, it is a pretty tough fight. I won't lie. Um, I would kind of had hoped that like we were gonna see one of the tyrants pop out, but that didn't end up happening in that room.
I was hoping we wouldn't. Like as soon as I saw them, like I looked at them and I like these look like failed tyrant experiments. The way these tumors and massive
Yeah,
growths are on them, and some of their legs are shriveled up and stuff. So I was like, I'm assuming none of these are gonna break out, but just in case, I hope to God they don't, because I really just don't feel like dealing with a tyrant
right,
when I've had to deal with the nemesis this whole game.
right. Fair enough. So there's that the clock tower. So the lab, yeah, the lab is just kind of uninspiring. The puzzle lack of puzzles in this game really sucks. But you were telling me
Oh yeah,
there's
there's like maybe three, four, five puzzles in this game, if even.
yeah, and it depends on how you classify them. Like when we were talking about it, like that power section, the power area where you go where all the drain demos are is a maze. It's not really a puzzle per se. Um, there's one puzzle with the box that gives you an upgrade. That's optional. And then there's the
Yes.
one
There's
mandatory
the
one.
puzzle to start the train.
Right. And then the last one is the puzzle for the vaccine or whatever. And like everybody I know, and when I say that I mean you and me, because haven't discussed it with Daryl too much.
Yeah.
But like we when I got to that point, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna button mash this and try different combinations until it eventually works. Because like they didn't do a great job of explaining what I'm supposed to be doing at that point.
Yeah, I was just button mashing things until I realized I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like right when I realized what I was supposed to be doing, I got it.
Yeah.
Like
I
right then and there.
I same thing. I ended up being like, oh, I need to level these out. Obviously, that's what I need to do. So I'll try to
Yeah.
level them out and just like button mash these until I figure it out. Um, and it was fairly easy once you figure that part of it out. But I feel like because I looked at the documents and I swear they don't really do a good job of telling you you're supposed to like hold it at a temperature. Um, but it also doesn't do anything where like because Resident Evil 2 the vaccine thing in Resident Evil 2 doesn't blow you up, right? Like Resident Evil 1 does. If you
No.
run or anything. Yeah, I didn't think so. Same thing here where like you get the vaccine and it doesn't do anything. It just eats up a space in your inventory slot. Which is kind of weird because like I as many times as I played this game, I never tried to put the vaccine in my item box. I assume you just can't.
I tried because I wanted to know, and you can't.
Okay, that's what I assumed. But this game also doesn't have any areas where it's like it doesn't have the thing that Resident Evil 2 or 1 has where it's like, oh, you have to have an open slot for this mandatory thing. But I guess that's because
Yeah,
there's no endgame weapon technically that
yeah.
goes in your inventory. So, uh, yeah, I just think that there's not. This game doesn't really promote exploration in the way that the other ones I've played have. Even Resident Evil like 4, it promoted exploration a bit more, where it like rewarded you with it. Whereas this game doesn't really do that. It also
I mean,
has.
it does though. It does though.
How would you say so?
All of the weapon upgrades, every single
Yeah.
weapon upgrade you get from an optional area.
Okay, that I would agree with. Yeah, and even like the Magnum, you have to
Yeah.
go really far out of your way for. Honestly.
So like, if you don't backtrack, if you don't don't expect you to around it, your weapons will just be okay.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I found the game to be so easy, and maybe that's why so many people have, is because we so many people played two or whatever and expected like, okay, I gotta backtrack and do these things, and maybe it is designed more to like be balanced for people who don't do that and literally just run through the whole thing.
I mean, well, I'm not saying it's designed to be like that. I'm just saying like those weapon upgrades are your rules for exploring the little amount there is to
Right.
explore.
I would agree with that. I'm looking at the footage now, and it reminded me that there's the knife, and like, I don't know how you feel. I don't think we discussed it too much, but I feel like the knife in this game is entirely useless. Like,
I don't like Jill's knife. Because of her attack animation with it, she's got the stab. I like how after the third stab she jumps back. I like that part, but I don't like the way she stabs because trying to not even just trying to stab zombies, like trying to cut open the boxes with her knife, you would be like standing right on top of the box and you'd still somehow be missing it with the knife.
yeah,
But Carlos's knife works just the same way the knife worked in Resident Evil 2. I had no problem with
where
Carlos.
he like slashes versus stabbing.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I didn't
But
end up
Jill's
using it.
stabbing. I threw Jill's knife in the item box. I kept Carlos's around.
Yeah, I feel like in this one the knife isn't used as much, even because one of the things that we learned when we were replaying Resident Evil 2 and trying to like unlock a lot of the stuff was that it promotes that, especially with boss fights. Like the game
Well,
wants you to use them. This one doesn't really do that.
see, for like in Resident Evil 2, you'd go into an area and you'd shoot the zombies, knock them down,
Right.
kill them with your knife, and in this game, like you can do that sometimes. But other times it's like there's a massive group of zombies. You just shoot an explosive barrel, they're all dead. You're not using your knife then.
Right.
Or the nemesis is chasing you, so like you're not trying to kill the zombies. Like literally,
You're just trying to run away at that point.
like in Resident Evil 2, you would never use a shotgun on a zombie. You're saving that for bigger enemies.
Yeah.
In this game, as soon as that nemesis starts chasing you, you switch over to your shotgun because if a zombie gets in your way, you have to blast with the shotgun so you can run past it.
Right. Because you don't
Because
want to take the chance with the dodge.
there is no standing around fighting a zombie if the nemesis is chasing.
Exactly. And I think that's okay. I really like the Nemesis zombies. What do they actually call them? They call them something else. But
What?
the parasite zombies, where he like gives them the little parasite thing on their head.
I don't remember what they called.
They call them something else. I don't know. But
I don't know. You don't really get the name of the enemies in the game unless you unlock their
the models, yeah.
model. And I haven't. The only model I unlocked is the second form of Nemesis
I ended up
and
unlocking
a
it, but I
zombie
forget
dog.
what they're called. One of the things I like about those enemies is the parasite actually lives independently of the zombie. So like you can kill the zombie, right? But the parasite's still alive. So if you don't kill the parasite too, it'll still reach out with like its tail thing and smack you, which is pretty cool. They did actually put a lot of consideration into that, which is nice. But
I mean, they kind of just stole that from Resident Evil 4, to be
yeah,
honest.
it definitely feels that way. It definitely feels like the zombies from Resident Evil
Like
4.
I kind of feel like this game was more like a let's nod to Resident Evil 2 remake, but kind of tease that we about to drop a remake.
Right, because as we're talking about this now, that rumor just dropped recently, like I think yesterday or the
Yes.
day before. Um,
Actually, I feel like that rumor just dropped today. We were talking about it. It felt like.
we were talking about it. I don't know when it dropped though, because like my timeline with this quarantine shit is all fucked up. But we recently, that just came out within whatever the last couple of days of us talking about this, and I mean, whatever. If they do it in this style, I think it'll probably honestly, no matter what they do, I think it'll end up being better than this. Not that I think we need to. The thing is that there's a lot of criticisms of this game, especially with the way that it compares to two. But it's not terrible, and like we wanted to say, like we were discussed that many times where we're like we have all these complaints, but it's not a bad inherently like a bad game. It's just
Yeah, no,
subpar
no.
to two.
We had very high expectations for it. Like, lower your standards a little
For
bit,
sure.
play this, and you'll have fun.
And one of the big things is that I think the value of this game comes from the fact that they are trying to bundle it together with Resistance because they didn't. I think they worried that these games couldn't live on their own, and so they're like, okay, let's just like put them together and call them, make it one game
They
basically for
barely
60.
live together.
Yeah, they
Mo-
barely do.
no one wanted or asked for Resistance, so a lot of people like don't even care or even to try it out. But like, I'm sitting here today, and I'm gonna tell you, go try Resistance.
Yeah, if you
Don't
bought this
knock it
game, you
till you
need to
try
play
it,
it. You
and
definitely need to try it.
don't go in it expecting to win.
Yeah, that was my advice to you when because we had played it and he was like, "This fucking sucks, man." And I was like, "Yeah, well, that's because you keep going and thinking you're gonna win. Like, you're not gonna win probably."
Yeah, because I was like, I'm a Resident Evil pro. I've been playing these games since I was 4. I played the original ones. Bring it on. I got this. I'll win this thing by myself. Who cares about teammates? And then I played it, and I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no,
no, that's not how this
no.
works.
I'm not doing this. No, I'm not doing this. No, no, no. And then like I stopped expecting to win, and I played with Mike here, and I was like, I'm actually having fun. And then we like won like 5 games in a row.
Yeah, we actually did pretty well. We actually do pretty well when we play together. It's one of those things where like if you do have friends that also own the game on the same system, because for some reason it's not crossplay, like it's worthwhile trying out and whatever, play it for an hour or two with your friends and kind of see how you feel about it. But ultimately, it was more fun than I originally anticipated it being. But it's got some balancing issues it needs to figure out, in my opinion. But if you're gonna buy the game and you're buying it for $60, I think if you're buying it between 40 and $60, definitely give Resistance a try. Otherwise, you're gonna feel totally ripped off. Like if you just play 3, you're gonna feel ripped off. And if you're buying it for less than $30, which this probably will be in a year, like then you could probably get away with just playing 3 and be like, yeah, that was okay. That was worth my money. Because I definitely would have been pissed off if I only bought this for $60 and then I had still like if Capcom had charged
Oh yeah.
$60 for this and then $20 more or $30 more for Resistance, people would have been like, no, this is absurd. Like, you just charge us $60 for this short game and you're charging us more money for this other thing that's short and not really anything we wanted. So, it as much as people aren't going to like the pairing, it's there intentionally. I feel like so.
Yeah.
And I don't really have much else to say about it,
I mean,
honestly.
is there anything else? The music.
Oh, the music. The music is
Oh
actually
my.
really good in this game.
Mwah.
The music is really, really good. Nemesis's
There
music
is
is really good.
There's no such thing as a Resident Evil game with bad music. I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
true. I will give it that. Every game has really good music. Nemesis,
The story.
oh yeah, we didn't cover the story too much, I guess.
I think that the story is more. It's better put together in the remake,
Yeah, that's what you were telling me.
but I think I liked the original more. But the story's good. The story's solid. It's great. You know, if you read the files, they don't skimp out on too much details.
Yeah.
Like, they don't go too far into explaining the Nemesis stuff, but like, let's be honest, it's a giant hulking monster that's trying to kill you. What the fuck do you need to know about it?
Right. And if you've played Resident Evil 3 before, you already know enough about Nemesis to deal with it. And if you don't, like, I knew what Nemesis was, and I didn't even really know what Resident
Oh
Evil
yeah.
was. So,
Oh, that reminds me of a this game. The just takes away from how scary the Nemesis used to be, if you ask me.
Yeah.
One, because one of the reasons he is so scary is because he talked. He said stars all the time, and he doesn't in this one. I mean, I said that earlier in the video, but it's more than just that. It's shit. What was I gonna say?
He just doesn't really do anything. He just kind of like lumbers around. Like, yeah, his running is scary, but he definitely would have been more scary if when you heard that clunk, 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 you heard stars right as he's like running up to you.
Yeah,
I would have shit myself. Like,
I was gonna say, what were you just talking about? That's what reminded me of it.
uh, the story and specifically not talking about Nemesis as much. Like, I knew what Nemesis was kind of as an outsider of the series, even.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Man, I hate myself right now. It does this thing in the game where like he chases you and you get away and Jill's like, yeah, he's dead. And you walk around the corner, and he busts through a wall, and he's like, like
Yeah.
these moments I felt like they were supposed to be scary. It's like, dude, I know who the Nemesis is.
Right.
Even if I didn't play the original games, I probably watched the movie with him. I know who the Nemesis is. I know he doesn't die. Like, you're not fooling anyone. It's not scary. I'm not surprised. I knew he was coming
Yeah. Right.
again. Like, if this was a new game, if this wasn't a remake, it would have been scary. But like, instead of just having him bust through and stuff, how sound like a good way that they could have made him scary in this game is like as you're exploring and stuff, like every once in a while in the background, you should have just heard. You'd be like, "Oh shit, he's out there looking for me."
Right. But he's not even. That's one of the things is like even in this game, he's really not. So he shows up. He doesn't show up until after a certain section, and then
And
he's
they're all scripted.
yeah, and it's all scripted. So like it's like I said, it's not as scary as
It's
Mr.
not like
X.
Mr. X. Like Mr. X spawned in and followed you around.
Right.
Nemesis is scripted.
And even then, like you knew
Like he
Mr.
does
X
chase
wasn't
you like
dead, but you
Mr.
never knew where
X,
he was
but
gonna
it's like
show up.
through hallways.
Yeah, you didn't know where he was gonna show up. Whereas Nemesis, you always kind of know because like he does this thing where he just
Yeah.
like bounces in or whatever into wherever you're at, and that part's
Well, I
scary.
will tell you one thing. Sometimes he will just kind of show up out of nowhere on you. Because, like, I remember he was chasing me through the city, and I thought I was going to be smart, and instead of running towards the donut shop where I knew he was going to be, I thought I was going to be smart and run up to the roof and go down the other way.
Yeah.
But, like, right when I went to win off that roof, he just kind of slingshotted up in front of me out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, shit.
See
And
that
he punched me and killed me.
that's one of the things that they do weirdly. Like, all right, so Nemesis can
Like,
go in some buildings, but not all. Like,
because he. That I raged in that moment because I remember I was in the party with you.
yeah,
I was like, how was he? He was literally just behind me.
yeah.
How is he in front of me?
He just jumps or runs in front of you. Yeah, it's crazy. He just
Well,
does that
no, it
in this
wasn't
one.
even that. It was I went on the roof of the building, and I went to go down on the other side of the building, and he just came up from that side.
Are you talking about the stairwell area? Like
No, I'm talking about the roof of the building
roof
you
of the
go
building.
on in the Raccoon City. You climb up the ladder to the roof.
The only ladder I can think of in the Raccoon City section is when you climb up that ladder and it goes to like that little walkway.
There's the
saw
metal
it.
staircase that goes up to the roof on the one side. There's two zombies on the roof. Then you go and you're walking down like wooden boards, and you drop down the ladder, and it takes you to where the fire hose.
Oh yeah.
That rooftop segment.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about. I guess I was explaining it differently than you were. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's where he showed up.
Like,
He just like
yeah,
grappled up there.
yeah, just out of nowhere, in front of
Yes.
my face and killed me.
See, because the thing is that, like I said, Nemesis can come into some areas, but not others. Like he can go into that first big area in the power plant. Like you know when you first walk in, how there's that like big open room, that big room with the lockers and everything. He can go in that room, but he can't go in the donut shop. So like as soon as I figured out he couldn't go in the donut shop, for some reason he doesn't spawn as easily if you run through the donut shop and go out the other side. But if you run up that stairwell and try to run through the buildings and stuff, he'll chase you all the way through there.
Yeah,
Like basically.
yeah.
So
Like the donut shop's your safe zone during
basically,
the all that, and not only that, it's not really a safe zone, but you can get a cool little moment if you know the toy shop.
yeah, the toy shop part is really cool. There's a
If
trophy
you
in
run
that too.
into the toy shop while he's chasing you, he just walks up to the window and starts staring at you like a little kid stares at a toy.
Right. Like I love that. That like if there was more stuff in that of that in this game, I would have been like, "Oh my god,
Oh
this is
yeah.
amazing." But it was like so like there are little things like that where you can definitely see the glimpses of like Resident Evil 2 and like the other games in it where it's like got those special touches, but there's just not as many I feel like in this. And that's what ultimately kind of
Like
hurts it.
I feel like a lot of moments in this game that they tried to make scary just ended up being jokes because of the way they were.
Yeah, it falls into the similar camp that I think like the other more recent 5 and 6 kind of do with the action sequences where they try to make it scary in an
Yeah,
action way and it's just
yeah,
not.
yeah. Yeah. You can either make it scary or you can make it an action sequence, but you can't really make it a scary action sequence. Action normally implies beating the monster, like escaping, like smacking it
Right.
till you escape, killing it. You know, when you're fighting a back, when you're doing damage to the monster, it's not scary. But when it's like this thing's chasing you and just tossing cars
Right.
to the side, that's scary because like you're like, how am I even gonna make this thing bleed? But when
Right.
you're like getting dragged away and you're stabbing it, like it's heart racing, but it's not scary.
Yeah, it's more of an adrenaline versus like scary. It's weird because like I said there were certain segments where they could have done really small things to make it better. Like that section where like she's getting dragged or whatever that we were talking about. That's like a quick time
Yeah.
event. Like all they could have done really for me that would have changed that and made it more interesting is if instead of having her crawl away, she just turned around and you had to shoot the nemesis while he's like pulling you towards him or something. Like
Not even like
just
you
something.
know what made that better? Like that part was so stupid. Literally, all you do is hold forward on your control stick. There's no fight or anything. Like
Yeah,
a little bit of a fight would have been nice. Like, are you telling me this thing is going to reach out and grab me, but when I start walking away, it's not gonna have any resistance back. It's just gonna let me walk away from it.
right.
Like, like I feel like there should have been moments where, like, even though you're holding forward, Nemesis is like gonna break and start dragging you back, and you gotta like push forward again or
Yeah, even
something.
that would have been something where
Like,
like a
like
back and
there's,
forth.
I felt so lazy. Just hold it forward. Like a little bit of a fight would have been nice. Like hold it forward, hold it forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that section is that's definitely like probably the worst part of the game. Like if you're gonna pick one thing that like really identifies it, that's probably the section to talk about. And it's really small. It's like a 5 second thing. It's not really not even that bad. But I don't think you can fail it either. Like I don't. I think if you just sit there, like nothing's gonna
No, you
happen.
can fail it.
Oh, you
If
can.
you
Okay.
just sit there, yeah, he drags you back in the fires.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that at least. At least they put a fail condition on it because I never even
Yeah,
tried really to let it fail.
well, because well, another complaint about that sequence is when the button prompt shows up on your screen, it's the left stick going forward, but it's pulsating. So you
Yeah.
think you gotta like tap it, like go flick
Yeah,
it,
and
like
keep tapping
up,
it.
up,
Yeah.
up, 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 and then you'll die. And you're like, what the heck? I'm doing it. Why am I dying? Like, no, you just hold it forward. And it's like, that's not how you do that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not how you indicate just holding it forward.
right. So it definitely feels like that was like probably one of the like worst sections of the game.
Like it's a good game. It just feels rushed through. Like I feel
Yeah.
like if they would have taken their time and shown it some love, like it would have been better than the Resident Evil 2 remake. Or if it came out before the Resident Evil 2 remake, I feel like people
Yeah.
like it more than we do now.
I
Cuz
think
like it's just it feels like a downgrade from Resident Evil 2, and it's weird to have a sequel be a downgrade.
yeah, that's that ultimately like how it feels and I think we I want to word it a bit differently. Like I agree with what you're saying, but uh I think the problems that the things that we discussed would still be there even if it was first. But we would so there's a distinction I want to make with hype and like our expectations. I think even if you took away the hype, right? there would still be those issues in particular. But our hype and our expectation definitely contributed to that as well. So like some of it is on Capcom and some of it is on us as a community, like expecting something we that ultimately we didn't end up getting, but they never tried to sell it to us that way either, I don't think. Cuz like when was
Oh
this
yeah,
even
no, they told
announced?
us multiple times it was different. Like they kept telling us, we just didn't listen.
Yeah, we were just like, "Oh man, we're going to get basically another Resident Evil 2. This is
Like
going to be awesome." Like
they told me they're like it's gonna be different. I'm like, well, I know it's gonna be different. It's Resident Evil 3. Like, of course there's gonna be action and stuff, but it's still gonna be an awesome and amazing.
right.
Like it's gonna be like Resident Evil 2, but like with more action and less puzzles. Like I'm okay with that. That's cool. And then like it came out, and I'm like, oh, this
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 is Resident Evil
isn't
2 with more action and
another
less
Resident Evil
puzzles,
2.
but it's not like Resident
Like
Evil 2.
like a lot of people keep saying it feels like it's DLC for Resident Evil 2, and like no, I disagree with that. It feels like this should have come out before Resident Evil 2 is what it feels like. It
right.
feels like I just beat the new game and now I'm going back to play the old game.
Yeah, it definitely feels, and maybe that's because I don't know. Capcom's always said that this was in development first, which I don't know necessarily if I believe, but it definitely feels that way. Like it definitely feels like this didn't get all of the same attention to detail and love that RE2 got. Uh, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I'd love to know, like, if we could, if we ever end up getting those kind of little details from them. And Capcom's usually a lot better about talking about things as time goes on. Like, they're not one of those companies that's like, no, we can't admit that we screwed up. Like, they will eventually. Like, it won't be within a reasonable time frame, but hopefully in hindsight, because, like, I saw even before we did this that, like, it shipped 2 million units or something, and then RE2 shipped 3 like in its first week. So like it
Like
still sold a shitload. Like it still did really well.
if if we had to give this like a ranking placement, you mind
Yeah, go for it.
if we had to give this like a ranking placement, I would give Resident Evil 3 itself, because of my expectations, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. But if I want to reality check myself, I guess I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
I think that's fair. I think I'd
And
sit
then
at a 7, honestly.
Resident Evil Resistance, I would give also like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
So overall, with them being a bundled together, a package deal together, I if you buy this game, you can have access to both of them. So I'll give it all together 8 out of 10 just because they're together.
I
But
think that's
separately,
fair.
I'd say both of them are 7 out of 10.
I think that's fair cuz I like Resistance a lot, but again, I think you need to know what it is before you get into it because if you what I ultimately expected was Evolve, and it's nothing like Evolve, like at all. Um, it still has
I
unique
was
characters with unique abilities, but it's not
it's
designed the
it's a
same
lot
way.
like Outbreak. It's
That's what you were telling me.
different. It's very different, very very different. But like it kind of feels like it sometimes.
That's what you were
Like at
saying.
the beginning, it feels like Outbreak, but once you get towards the end, then it's just chaos.
Yeah. And I don't. We didn't want to talk about Resistance too much because ultimately, like before we started recording, we were like, honestly, like we can say whatever we want about Resistance and we can show you footage and all that, but like at the end of the day, like
Like
if
you
you
have
buy
to
this
play
game,
it to
you
understand.
really need to play it to understand it.
Like you have to play it or like watch
Like,
play like
yeah, watch a streamer play it or something like. Don't
yeah,
watch like a
like
YouTube
we
video
we
on it.
might stream it sometime in the future here
Yeah,
someday. If we get bored, we might just randomly stream it.
right.
But
And it's to be fair, I think its main purpose is so that you don't sell off Resident Evil 3, like that you don't trade it away. Cause like I definitely would have at this point, cause I already platinumed it, and I'm like, it's okay, it's a fun game, whatever. But like if I needed to trade a game, this would be the first one I would do so with. And but because it has Resistance, I won't do that. Like
oh yeah,
I'm even at the point where like if
but
Capcom
like
was like, "Here's Resistance, you could just buy it alone," I'd be like, "Okay, here's $20. Goodbye,
I
Resident Evil 3."
also I feel like Resistance might also be kind of something that's niche. Like I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
definitely
you're
is.
either gonna hate it or love it.
It's
But
definitely
like I
not.
said, do not go into it expecting to win. You will hate it.
Yeah, that's like the best advice you can give anybody regarding Resistance. You have to expect the fact that
Like go
it's
in it expecting to lose. Just like have fun with your friends
Yeah, you have to have a lot of people coordinate really well together, and that just doesn't happen most of the time.
when you're playing with random
Yeah,
people.
when playing with randoms.
So
So
like if you have no friends, you're gonna have a miserable time with this game. But if you
probably.
have at least one friend, if you have at least one person that's willing to play this game with you, you'll have fun. But if you're
Yeah,
trying to play by yourself, you to
you're not gonna enjoy
sell
it.
it, sell it.
Play Resident Evil 3 and sell it. Call it a day. So I think that's good because we went about an hour and 10. That's a lot about what I was expecting given everything we wanted to discuss. So that is our pretty thorough and in-depth review of Resident Evil 3. And we're gonna mix it up, and we're obviously still gonna do impressions, but we're looking to do stuff like this on bigger games as well, or stuff that really merits it. Like we're gonna do the same with Final Fantasy VII when we're eventually done with it. So
That and we kind of missed the time window with the impressions,
yeah,
but coronavirus, people are getting games later and stuff like that. So
right. So we
reviews are
figured it would
kind
be
of a
okay.
funky subject right now.
Right, so it's here in case you decide later or you can afford it or whatever. If you are hurting for money and you need to buy a game, I would not recommend this be one of the games you buy. I would
Yeah, if you're hurting
buy
for
pretty much
money,
anything
don't buy
else.
this.
Yeah,
If
this
you're
is
hurting
a
for money, buy Doom Eternal.
yeah, or Final Fantasy VII or something like that. Don't
Yeah, yeah, no, never mind. If you're hurting for money, buy Final Fantasy VII.
yeah,
Unless you don't like RPGs. If you don't like RPGs, for the love
then
of God, don't buy Final Fantasy VII. I don't want anyone talking bad about this game because, like, I'll find you and I'll tell you to please stop.
please stop saying bad things about the games I like.
I'll just I'll show up in your bathroom mirror, only in your mirror, and I'll please stop, and then I'll just disappear.
Fair enough. I think
You'll turn around and no one will be behind you.
the ghost of Adam to haunt you about bad things about Final Fantasy VII. All right, well, that's it for us. We're going to get out of here so we don't take up any more of your time. Thank you for joining us if you decided to stick all the way through it. If not, we hope that what you did listen to was super helpful in making a decision on whether this game is for you or not. Anyways, until next time, we are two of the ambassadors of gaming, and that's it. Bye.
STAAARRRS.